I guess, what do you think is the takeaway, if anything, from the film and from this, particularly your character's struggle to place Jake and place herself in this conversation and how to approach everything?
I think, first of all, I think we're all so stuck with having to put everything in a box. Why does everything need to be in a box? And I think that's what my character struggles with, that it's like, as society or as a good friend or as just, you need to be able to describe the situation because it's unique and it's different, but it's really not. It's really just a kid who has preferences. It could be that he likes chocolate ice cream and not vanilla, whatever, it doesn't matter. I think that's the greater takeaway from this movie, that it tells you that humanize everyone. Don't like the judgments that we tend to put on people, and that's what puts them in a box, and that's what they're going to turn out to be. We decide that at like 4.
Yeah, there's even that scene that's a seemingly kind of silly scene where we're just having a glass of rosé, and but you're talking about your Tinder or your dating app or whatever. Maybe it's not Tinder. It's probably a lot. Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I've been married forever. I don't know what the kids do these days. But anyway, she's a single mom, and she's talking about the absurd ways in which she has to kind of pitch herself, and so it just every character in the story is balking against the stereotypes that they're.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the sources of inspiration, was just realizing that sort of in the attempt to be more and more inclusive and more progressive, we inevitably create more and more labels and categories, which then themselves become reductive and need to be sort of thrown off. And I do think, sort of as Priyanka said, there's a weird, I think, as a society, we feel so much safer when something can be named and labeled, that it's, in certain ways, I do think the movie is almost about the pitfalls of language in that way, and the ways in which, sometimes what we really need to be more tolerant of is just gray area and uncertainty, and not having, a specific label, because of course any phrase, any label is going to be inherently reductive, even if it's meant to honor and celebrate, and those two things are kind of bound up. And so anytime anytime I think there's not an obvious solution to something, whether it's thematically or emotionally, that's always very fertile in the writing process.
I also loved this story so much because there are very few representations of motherhood that are as complex and dynamic as this, and there's so much loss involved in motherhood. I feel like the moment that my son hit the air, the separation anxiety began. We were never more fused than when he was inside of me. So it's like one long goodbye. And the connection is just so profound and so beyond language. And, and then when they start to take shape and, their identity becomes more etched, and the world, decides who they are, and they respond to that, and on it goes, and a person is made, it can be really sad. Every single girlfriend of mine, the day they send their kids off to kindergarten, are heaving, just like these guttural cries, that's done. And really, he's gone. And it sounds so absurd because they're still so little, but not compared to when they were, in utero.
That's really profound, but really depressing.
Yeah, it's true.